So the robotic arm on the space shuttle and the space station, and then another engineering marvel, and here's why I think that those are marvelous. They've never been used on Earth. The robotic arm itself, whether it's on the shuttle or the station, cannot lift its own weight. It was built to work only in space. It was designed, obviously tested from a connectivity standpoint, but nobody ever hooked it up to a control and moved it around. It couldn't happen. The arm is too heavy to lift itself up. The amount of electrical power that goes to those joints in space is relatively minuscule because, oh, by the way, the space shuttle in its entirety operates on 28 volts. So, so there's not a whole lot of power going in that arm. Now, it just so happens that in space, where things are weightless, you don't need a lot of power to move around a multi-segment weightless object like the robotic arm and grapple with it. So you're not just moving it, you're also doing operations with it with the grappler. But it never worked on Earth. And I think that's just, again, another amazing feat of engineering to be able to do these things. To me, it's also amazing that I got the chance to actually do them. I'm very hopeful. First of all, I'll look in the past and say that if I had not done all this grooming of my own desire to be in math and science, I would of course not be sitting in front of you having the resume today that I've talked about. I already mentioned that, but I would like to also point out why the focus is so important is because it's become very obvious to me that the kinds of opportunities that young people have, or people like me have, or people like you have, to do some pretty amazing things on a very human dimension come about when you are actually articulate in the math and science realm. We are becoming a stronger and stronger technological society, and the really, really neat things that we often get to do happen because people have been studying math and science. And so ever the more focus on this, because young people today, my big message to them is to make them recognize that if they want to go to space, or if they want to go to the bottom of the ocean, or if they want to go do some grand adventures, math and science and having a witty knowledge of how to work with math and science is a very, very basic fundamental skill that will be a part of that experience. And so I try to give that message out to the kids every chance I can. So getting to the power of encouragement again, as we look to the future, the message I give to the young folks today, first of all, is that they're probably going to get to fly in space. I start with that because that gets their attention right away. I am a big believer in where we're headed right now with space and how the technology is advancing to the point where it is becoming more and more accessible. I think you're seeing in the news now that there are some pretty innovative companies that are getting closer and closer to that goal of actually taking people up to space as some sort of tourism event or entertainment event, or certainly in the early years extreme sport event, for lack of a better term. I think it's great. I am not one of those people who thinks that, you know, being an astronaut needs to belong to just the special few. I am a huge believer in getting as many people pushed out there to space that we can possibly manage, because there is something wholly unique about looking back at Earth from space and looking at your home planet and just taking it in. The most famous picture in history is that picture of Earth taken by the Apollo astronauts when they were circling the moon. That is the most reprinted picture in human history, because we are fascinated with ourselves. And Earth, the neat thing about Earth is that as you look at it, by the way, there's no borders at all when you look at Earth. The closest you come is when one country really favors irrigation and the next country doesn't. And you see a little bit of a green on one side of what you realize is a national border between one country and another, but that's really rare. Looking back on Earth, you don't see the borders of country, you just see basically the home of humanity. And there's something about having that view with your own personal eyes that really ends up changing something inside, and I think it's something for the better. really get a perspective of where we fit in the big scheme of things. So, so getting back to my theme is talking to the young kids about the fact that they will probably likely get the chance to get that kind of view. It's not going to be everybody all at once, but in 20 years from now, I couldn't tell you that we wouldn't have some of your children, and certainly your grandchildren, having the ability to have access to those opportunities. And so it's an exciting thing. And of course I tell them now the next step is you'll get closer to that opportunity if you really groom your math and science and engineering skills. There's something when they start looking for people who are going to get those opportunities, clearly we're looking for people who understand those environments. And it isn't just about the science and engineering environment of the mechanical, it's also about the biological. So when I talk about the science, technology, and engineering and math environment, it's the biology part. Understanding how we are as humans in space, understanding how our bodies work. The human body, by the way, I think it's even more sophisticated than the space shuttle. I've had the chance to see what happens to the human body up close and personal when it lives in the space environment, and I am absolutely astounded with its adaptability. So the human body, there's a lot about the human body we don't even understand. We don't understand how certain things happen to the body. We don't understand how certain anomalies are managed by the body. We understand a lot, but medicine in the big scheme of things is still not at its full-grown maturity. And when you go to space, you can see some of the more interesting things that happen and how the human body takes into account that space environment and then begins to adapt. It amazes me. For example, I know I'm getting on a little detour here, but I cannot help myself. When I was in orbit, I grew 2 inches. And here's why. Because under the compression of gravity, the spine basically is compressed against the cartilage in between the vertebrae. When you get to space, the gravity compression isn't there anymore. So what ends up happening is the vertebrae, the cartilage between the vertebrae then begins to expand to its natural uncompressed state. And it begins to stretch apart the vertebrae. The muscles that hold your spine together is literally the only thing keeping that stretch from happening instantly. So over a couple of days, as your muscles stretch to allow that spine to elongate, you grow a couple of inches, or an inch or two. For me, it was almost 2 inches. Which is, you know, how does that happen from the standpoint of the human body? So there's something unique about the space environment that allows us to look at ourselves through different eyes. And the neat thing about that is that now it begins to spark those curiosities about, well, what else about the human body don't we know? And again, it's all getting back to understanding ourselves as a part of humanity. So, but math and science is the foundation of all this. It's absolutely clear to me because understanding these processes are very complicated. You need equations. You need an inherent appreciation of the science involved in order to do them. And frankly, not only is it important for us to understand it, but understanding it is now ever so more important in the kind of technological world we live in now. Again, I cannot help myself. When I was a kid and you needed to pump gas, you know, first of all, probably when I was a kid, someone came out and pumped the gas for you, but let's say we're past that. You pump your own gas, and being able to do that involved mechanics. It involved fluid dynamics, and involved mechanics, and involved hardware. And now it also involves software, because you cannot buy gas without pretty much using a credit card. And somewhere in the process of pumping your gas, there's signals that are sent up magically to the GPS constellation in order to get a timing signal for your credit card to be processed. And that's a different level of technology that I have yet to fully understand, even though it so happens that the owners and operators of those GPS satellites happen to work for me today. I am absolutely astounded by the talent and technological savvy of the team that I have under my command today. So the world is becoming more and more technological. It's not just the fact that space is becoming basically a normalized domain to leverage these technologies. It's also about the internet becoming a normalized domain to leverage these technologies. And we're now not just doing things with mechanics and fluid dynamics, although we still do that. We're now also working in the ether of wireless broadband and frequency spectrum management and electrical engineering and of course, more and more sophisticated computer science. So I mean, we are basically morphing into truly an information age that really needs to be managed as an overarching technology. So it's a need that has obviously grown, and I know I'm speaking to the choir when I talk about the fact we need young people today to be invested in helping it grow. Complex element of the Air Force called the Joint Forces Component for Space. And underneath my command today, I have incredibly young people and incredibly smart people who are managing these GPS satellites. They're managing satellite communications. They're managing the sensors that look up and protect the International Space Station from debris. They're managing the comm lines that go around and connect everybody together across the globe to talk to the space environment and all the different satellites up there. They're managing the space traffic management aspects of that. These are all folks that are just, in many cases, right down the road here at Vandenberg Air Force Base that are doing this. They're a young, smart, technologically savvy team. But I can tell you as a military commander, I need more of them. I think that our economic national interests and our national security depend on having lots and lots and lots of young folks like the folks that have working for me today. And that's why I'm here to tell you to keep doing what you're doing and encouraging these young people to take that. Remembering, of course, you might never know the magic moment when you've made a difference. But I would be willing to bet that if you carpet bomb your encouragement across all kinds of student audiences, you're going to hit the mark. Okay, you will hit the mark. You will basically get some young folks who become excited about this.